You didn't fall in love with that person. You fell into withdrawal. Scientists put people who describe themselves as desperately in love inside brain scanners. What they found didn't look like romance. It looked identical to the brain of someone in the grip of a cocaine addiction. The same regions lighting up, the same chemical signals firing, the same desperate, consuming need for one more hit. Now here's what makes that finding terrifying. The people inside those scanners, they weren't describing healthy relationships. They were describing ones they knew were destroying them. Relationships full of lies, chaos, and pain. And their brains, your brain in the same situation, would call all of it love. So before you decide that you or someone you know simply chose to stay in something toxic, you need to understand what was actually happening inside that skull. Because it wasn't weakness, it wasn't stupidity, it was chemistry. And chemistry doesn't care what you want. There is a psychological mechanism so powerful that it can override your logic, your self-respect, and every warning your closest friends give you. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't feel like a trap when it starts. In fact, when it begins, it feels like the best thing that has ever happened to you. It's called trauma bonding, and the odds are overwhelming that you have felt its pull at some point in your life, even if you never had a name for it. Here's how it starts. Think back to a relationship, romantic, a friendship, even a family dynamic, where the good moments felt almost supernaturally good, where one person's approval felt like sunlight, where a single kind word from them could undo days of pain, where you found yourself doing things you never imagined you'd do just to get back to that feeling. You probably told yourself that intensity meant depth, that the highs proved how real it was. You weren't wrong to feel that way. Your brain was giving you precise, accurate feedback about what it was experiencing. The problem is what was causing those feelings in the first place. In the 1950s, a behavioral psychologist named B.F. Skinner ran an experiment that was never designed to explain human love. He was working with pigeons, and what he accidentally discovered would become one of the most important and most disturbing findings in the history of psychology. Skinner placed pigeons in boxes with levers. In one group, pressing the lever always delivered food, predictable, reliable. Those pigeons pressed the lever casually, ate, and moved on. In another group, the lever delivered food randomly. Sometimes pressing it worked, sometimes it didn't. No pattern, no guarantee. The second group became obsessed. They pressed the lever compulsively, frantically, long past the point of hunger. Even when the food stopped coming entirely, they kept pressing, over and over, because somewhere in their nervous system, the lesson had been written in permanent ink. The reward is real. It's coming. You just have to keep trying. Skinner called this intermittent reinforcement, and it is the single most addictive reward pattern ever studied in living creatures. Now, replace the lever with a text message, replace the food with warmth, affection, and validation, and replace the pigeon with you. That partner who was sometimes loving and sometimes cold for no reason you could identify, they weren't just being unpredictable. They were, whether they knew it or not, running Skinner's experiment on your nervous system, and your brain responded exactly the way the pigeons did. It became hooked not on the person, but on the chase for the reward that might, at any moment, appear. Now this is where it gets darker. In 2010, researchers at Stony Brook University, led by neuroscientist Helen Fisher, took that brain scanning research further. They recruited people who described themselves as intensely in love and people who had just gone through painful breakups but couldn't stop thinking about their ex. Then they scanned both groups. The region that lit up in both cases was the ventral tegmental area, the brain's core dopamine production center, the exact same region that activates in cocaine users when they see drug paraphernalia, the exact same region that drives gambling addicts back to the table after they've lost everything. But here's the detail that stopped researchers cold. The people going through the breakup showed even more intense activation than the people currently in love. Losing access to the source of the reward didn't weaken the craving, it amplified it. Just like cutting off a drug addict's supply doesn't cure the addiction, it makes the hunger sharper, more desperate, more consuming. Your brain in that moment is not processing loss, it is processing withdrawal. And withdrawal from a person feels like this. You check your phone every 4 minutes. You replay conversations looking for the moment things changed. You oscillate between rage and a desperate desire to fix it. You know intellectually that going back is wrong, and you go back anyway. Not because you're broken, because your dopamine system is doing exactly what it evolved to do. Pursue the thing that once gave you reward, no matter the cost. Now pause, because you might be wondering if this is all just chemistry, if this is all just neurons and dopamine, does that mean none of it was real? Does it mean you imagined the connection? No, it means something more unsettling than that. It means the connection was real, the bond was real, and the mechanism being used to maintain it was also real, just not the one you thought. Psychiatrist Judith Herman, who spent decades studying trauma survivors, found that the bonds formed under conditions of intermittent abuse and reward are among the strongest human bonds that exist, not despite the pain, because of it. The cycle works in 4 stages, and once you see them, you cannot unsee them. First comes tension building. Something is off. The atmosphere shifts. You don't know why, but you can feel the pressure rising. You start walking on eggshells, monitoring their mood, adjusting yourself preemptively. Your nervous system is in low-grade alert. Then comes the incident, the explosion, the cruelty, the withdrawal of affection, the cutting remark, the thing that breaks the tension by finally arriving. Then comes reconciliation, the apology, the tenderness, the sudden overwhelming warmth that floods back in. This is the lever delivering the food. This is the moment your brain tags as the reward, because the relief after sustained anxiety feels indistinguishable from euphoria. And then comes the calm, a quiet period where you tell yourself, things are fine now, things are different, this is what it can be like all the time, until the tension starts building again. Most people who've lived inside this cycle describe the reconciliation phase as the most intensely loving feeling they've ever experienced. They're not exaggerating. The contrast between sustained anxiety and sudden relief floods the brain with dopamine, oxytocin, and cortisol simultaneously in a combination that produces a feeling of bonding so powerful it can override years of rational thought in seconds. You were never addicted to the person, you were addicted to the relief. So what does this actually look like when it's happening to a real person in a real life? It looks like this. Sarah has been with her partner for 3 years. Her friends have noticed that she checks her phone constantly when they're out together. When he texts, her whole face changes. When he doesn't, she becomes distracted, anxious, not fully present. She describes the relationship as intense and passionate. She says no one has ever made her feel the way he does. What she doesn't say, what she barely lets herself think, is that she never knows which version of him is going to walk through the door, and that the days after a bad fight, when he comes back soft and apologetic and loving, feel like the best days of her life. That feeling is not love winning. That feeling is withdrawal ending. It also looks like this. Marcus got out 6 months ago. He knows logically that the relationship was harmful. He has a list, literally written on paper, of everything that happened. He reads it when the urge gets bad. But at 2 in the morning, when the apartment is quiet, his hand moves to his phone before he's even conscious he's doing it, because his nervous system hasn't received the memo that the experiment is over. It's still pressing the lever, waiting for the food that isn't coming. And here's the version nobody talks about, the one that doesn't look like visible drama at all.
It looks like a perfectly functional person, stable job, good friends, healthy on paper, who has spent years in a relationship with someone emotionally unavailable. No screaming, no visible abuse, just a persistent, low-grade hunger for a level of warmth and closeness that is offered just often enough to keep the hope alive, and withheld just often enough to keep the craving sharp. This version is the hardest to recognize because from the outside, and even from the inside, it just looks like loving someone who is a little difficult. The brain doesn't distinguish between the dramatic version and the quiet version. The mechanism is the same. The neurochemistry is the same. The bond formed under conditions of intermittent reward is the same, whether the highs are explosively passionate or quietly, persistently, just out of reach. Here is the thing that changes everything once you understand it. You were not weak for staying. You were not stupid for going back. You were not blind for not seeing it sooner. You were a human nervous system responding to one of the most powerful conditioning mechanisms ever identified in the study of living creatures. A mechanism so effective that trained researchers use it deliberately because nothing else comes close. The neuroscience doesn't excuse what was done, but it does explain what was felt. And understanding the difference between a genuine emotional connection and a chemically manufactured compulsion is not a small thing. It is, for a lot of people, the first moment they stop hating themselves for something their brain was essentially designed to do. The real question, and this is the one worth sitting with, isn't why you stayed. That part now has an answer. The real question is this. Now that you know your brain can manufacture the feeling of love out of anxiety, relief, and unpredictability, how confident are you that you can tell the difference between love and withdrawal in your own life right now? Leave your answer in the comments, because the responses to that question every single time reveals something the research alone never quite captures.